So I've been on the path of finding the best new out-leveling setups in 3.26. This is a build where I finished the campaign in 2 hours and 10 minutes using the best new techs from 3.26 with Coiling Whisper added to the game and is available at level 38. You can use it from the campaign and it can be pretty strong on certain builds. But the real secret of this league is that you should be using your Mercenary to help carry you through the campaign. There is 20 level difference in which you can use your Mercenaries, and there's a reason why level 50 Merc is actually breaking the game. You can kind of see me going insanely fast in the background right here using a bow skills and lightning warps. And this is a lightning skills, and my Merc is at level 50 and can use Doyanis. Essentially trivialize the campaign as long as I can use a lightning skills as my main skills. But before we get into the actual build itself, I want to put out a little bit of disclaimer. This build should be called like an alt leveling setups because it will require you to have merc setups in order for this to properly go through the campaigns. We are using a Doyani prototype mercenary setups with negative 200% lightning resistance, and it can be quite expensive. If you are just looking for an alt leveling build guide for your next alt characters and you don't have the mercenary setups, I highly recommend you guys to check out the hollow palm setups I have in 3.25. But also, I will provide you guys with a Bama setups using Coiling Whispers that I was using earlier to get a few of my characters level up. And it is a super solid setups. I also get through the campaign in roughly 2 hours and 20 minutes with that setups. Now, keep in mind, Coiling Whisper do not affect Bama by itself, but it makes the blink arrow goes a lot faster and smoother. So there's that. Bama by itself is just very solid leveling skills, and you don't really need much investment as well because the skill itself is just very strong. I did a very detailed POB for all 7 class because I thought I was gonna make a video about that until I realized I can do something so much more fun. But if you're not into just bow flickering around, then this is a very solid alternative setups that do not rely on the mercs because Bama by itself is a very strong skills. So yeah, currently we have 3 setups that I'm going to talk about: Hollow Palm, Bama, and the bow flicker setups. I'm going to rate them based on 3 criteria, which is budget, damage, and speed. In terms of budget, Hollow Palm is going to be the cheapest one because it's a standard setups with nothing too specials. For Bama, it's a bit more expensive because I decided to include the Coiling Whisper tech into the build. And for bow flickers, because we are using a Doyani prototype setups, it is going to be the most expensive. But if you are playing in 3.26, you might already have a Doyani prototype setup, so you might want to try it out. For the damage, Bama is going to be the one with the most damage out of all the setups by far. This is because later on you can even scale Bama with lightning damage, and if you are using a Doyani prototype mercs, Bama is just going to beat all of the build out there. All these skills have something in common, is that we can swap to them from very early level. Bama at level 10, Hollow Palm at around level 12, and also Bow Flicker at level 12 as well. All these skills, when set up properly, can take you all the way into the end games, and damage do not fall off by extent and will be able to get you through the whole campaign. Obviously, in terms of speed, Bow Flicker is the strongest one out there because I got my personal best at 2 hours and 10 minutes. And if I didn't make so much mistakes, I could probably clock in at under 2 hours as well, but I didn't, so it's whatever. This setup is very new and I still need some time to get used to blinking around because it can get a little bit tiring if you cannot deal with flickering around. And by the way, I call this flickering, but it's actually lightning warps. So yeah, anyway, just so we don't have any confusions, if you can't deal with the flicker around like this, you can try out Bama. Bama is very fast. And Hollow Palm do come in last because the setup itself do not benefit from Soul Eaters. There's no way for you to use Shield Charge or to use Lip Slams. And if you are planning to use self-cast Lightning Warps, it is clunky at best and it is no longer Hollow Palm. Same feeling as the normal Hollow Palm. So it's something that I'm not really going to try. So that is the rating for all the 3 leveling setups. And in my opinions, if you can deal with the flickering, you should try both flickers. And if you cannot, definitely give Bama a try. It is a very strong leveling skills. Quick shout out to Fez, the GOAT of Bama levelings. I'll put his forum discussions in the description of this videos. My setup is a little bit different because I optimized a bit more and I want to try out the Soul Eater setups. And for Hollow Palm, you can still use my 3.25 POB, which is still very much relevant. And the early game got nerfed a little bit without Wolf, but we got Mercenaries to benefit from. So yeah, with that being said, in this video, I'm going to provide you guys 2 sets of POB for 7 classes, Bama and Bow Flickers. And for Hollow Palms, refer to my previous 3.25 videos, POB is still very much relevant. I have detailed loadouts for pre-transition to Bama, Bama swaps at level 10, and Soul Eater Bama swap at level 38 or 40 for some class, but rest assured everything is noted in there. I have the 3 sessions which have the detailed leveling step by step from 1 all the way to the end of the campaign. I have the skill section set up so that you have skill set up so you know what to use. We have details on what level to add what skills and to take out what gems. We have the Soul Eater setups at level 38 and then Purity Element setups. And so yeah, everything is in here. I have the item setup as well. So you know what items to use in the early level. When you do the swap, what level you should add what items. So it is much better format than the guide I had before. Also in here, I have written down a detailed note just talking about what kind of options you have. You know, the merc setups, I'll go over that in a little bit. The leveling strats, 3 pathing tips and tricks, and I have the link to the better trading folder as well. And just like before, this is going to be an extremely useful tool for you guys to just click and buy all the items needed for the leveling setups. And just to quickly show you, I also have the Bow Flicker setups with the detail POB, with everything that the other POB also have better tradings, item setups. And also I have used the exact POB to level almost all of my alts, just to make sure that the build is actually functioning and I don't miss anything. So you can be sure that it's working. Let me just quickly touch on the better trading since we're already here. So I have set up a Bama alt leveling folder. In here, I have a detailed setups of all the items you need to buy for each steps of the leveling process. And I have set it up nicely over here. You can kind of see pre-Bama, Bama swaps, the Soul Eater setups with time claps, Coiling Whispers. I will touch on that a bit later. I also have the Mercenaries year setups, and it is kind of important. I will touch on the Merc as well since it is going to be extremely strong for the early part to mid part of your campaigns. And if you pick up the right mercs on your first leveling playthrough, you can use the same merc to level up your next characters a lot easier. So all you need to do is to click on each of these items and go ahead and purchase them. It's going to save you a lot of time. To import this exact folder, you are going to press the import folder and you are going to copy the code from POB and put in here. You should be able to see the Bama alt leveling setups with 51 bookmarks. All you need to do is click save, and voila, you are going to get the same folders that I have in my setups. And if you are playing Bow Flickers, obviously use the Bow Flickers better trading code. All the link will be in the descriptions of this video. So moving on to the curse setup. And the reason why I kind of choose Bama and Lightning Arrow Asana setups for blinking is because Bow have a really easy way of applying the curse using Mana Forge Arrow support. And you can kind of see when I'm using the skill blinking around, the rate of arrow do come down. And this means that we have Mana Forge Arrow, Rain of Arrows, and the Hex Touch will apply whatever hex that we put in this link, which in this case is Temporal Chain. And we have less duration support, but this one do not really matter that much because we are using Reduce to reduce our curse effects durations to 99%. Obviously, you need Coiling Whispers, and the way we get reduced curse effect durations is we are reducing the skill effect durations in which you can get from time collapse rings. It's very common, unique, it's very cheap. I'm using a 14% reduce in combinations with level 1 Hex Touch for 50% reduced curse durations. we are using these cluster on the tree here to give 25% reduce and another 10% reduced skill effect duration here, and that gets us to 99% reduced skill effect durations. If somehow you you can buy a 15% reduced skill effect durations, and you can raise the level of Hex Touch so it go down to 49%, and so on. So make some adjustment. If this 14% somehow become too expensive, then you just buy 15%, 16%, and adjust your Hex Touch level. Alright, so what you need to know about the mercenaries is that we have 3 slots of mercenaries, and if you want to level like me, you should give up 2 slots. One for your level 19 or 20 mercs, and one for your level 50 mercs, which ironically can use Doyani prototype because it's actually required level 67, which means that you can have access to this merc at level 30, and it will just insanely trivialize your campaign because this merc is extremely strong. For the gears, just need to know that for your merc, all you need to do is, if you don't have a previous merc setups, you are going to put a black heart ring on this. Mercs scale really well with flat damage, so whatever gear you put on your mercs, make sure that it just gives some sort of flat damage, and your merc will instantly doing insane amount of damage. So all these gears right here, which I do have linked in the better tradings, is extremely strong for a merc. And from level 1 to 20s, you can find different kind of mercs, but I find the bull archetype is the strongest. Try to get one with the lightning arrows and with precision aura, because we are playing an attack build, and even if you are playing Bama, you can still benefit from this merc because your clone will be benefits from the precision as well. And merc tend to have a high level precision aura, and the MVP of the run, so like if you don't have level 1 to 20 mercs, that's completely fine. The real MVP is going to be the level 50 Kineticist, which you can capture him in the Brine King Reef. So yeah, give the best gear that you can on your mercs, which is going to be Doyani prototype with the 2 negative lightning resistant ring. We are using Perclotols, we are using Dawnbreakers, flat damage, Engrave 1, flat damage on glove. This is for your merc to survive. More flat damage over here in shock, and then we get Leer Cast to give you some extra increased damage. On your merc, ideally you are looking for one with haste aura, so you move faster and you attack faster. If your merc have elemental weakness, it's insane because we are using elemental bow and we are scaling lightning damage to do as much lightning damage as we can, but other form of elemental damage also helps. Like I said, the real secrets of a very strong setups is actually the merc, because from level 1 to 12 your merc can easily carry you, because the merc do so much damage. If you can get a level 20 mercs using level 20 gears with a bunch of flat damage. In order to get a merc at level 20s for you to use at level 1, you need to have a character that is already level, because you cannot use your main character to come down to a level 19 zone and farm the mercs. So in the wetlands in Act 2, you can farm level 19 mercs, which you can use all the way to roughly level 30. That is when you can swap into your Kineticist, and your Kineticist is going to carry you through the rest of your campaign. And for your level 50 mercs, spend a little bit of time to farm them in the Brine King Rift. This is actually the same merc that I'm using in my bow flicker setups. Just keep in mind that she can actually be quite rippy. In my opinion, it's completely fine to have a merc for your setups. If you're planning to play an alt, it is worth to invest in a level 50 merc with Doyani prototype for whatever kind of builds that you are planning, if you can make use of wrath and lightning damage skills. I'm going to quickly touch on the mechanics of the Asenath mark setups and the bow skills that I'm using, but essentially we're using lightning warps and lightning warps because we can benefit from reduced durations, in which we already have reduced durations because we are running the curse setups. which means that our lightning warp is going to be instant. This is not a new setup and it has been played by the community before. I'm just purely putting it into a leveling setups because we benefits from the Riani prototype and the new Coiling Whispers. There is certain breakpoints which I'm not going to get into in this video, but just rest assured that if you have an amulet that allocates fleet foot, which have increased cooldown, recovery rate, and movement skills, which lightning warp is, and when you socket it in this ascendant max, it triggers a socketed spell when you attack with a bow, which means that you can get to proper trigger rates of the breakpoint is 27s, but and you need roughly 5 attack per seconds to reach to a optimal breakpoint. But as you can kind of see, like if we are having 45 stacks up, so either we easily get up to 7 attack per seconds, which we can even reach the next breakpoint. And I just don't want to invest in that because it can get pretty expensive, and I think this is good enough for me. I don't really need to hold down the buttons because we don't really have the mana for it either. And to sustain the mana, because we are using a lot of mana forge setups, and you can kind of see our mana just go back up very fast. We are using Clarity Aura, which grants us the mana regenerations. We will pair that with a Watcher's Eye mod, which give non-channeling skills have -10 to total mana cost. This is important and also expensive. It will cost you about 1 to 2 divine, but it will allow you to sustain a lot of these skills because it's going to save you a lot of mana. Without the Watcher's Eye mods, I think it's going to be a bit harder to sustain your mana. And also, I am running a corrupted asset mark with a socketed skill gems get 90% cost and reservation multiplier, which means that the aura I put in here is save me like about 10%, which I can sustain this. If you don't have this, you might run out of mana, in which instead of running an empower support, you are going to run an enlightenment support level 2 to save you some sort of mana. We also have the mana skills, mana reservation efficiency skills over here. And so yeah, that's like the TLDR. We use the skills, how we sustain our mana to use it as our movement skills, and we can go extremely fast in map and we can sustain our mana. It's just fine. Earlier in the game, we are using Paranda Sickness, but obviously after swapping to the setups, we have to make sure that we use Azure foibles and a bunch of stuff to sustain our mana. The skill tree is quite easy to understand. We are using precise technique as an attack build, and we are trying to use twin gear. But it's important to know that you want these accuracy nodes allocated first before you take precise technique. Otherwise, you will run into the problem of taking precise technique and you lose DPS from this. This is because you don't have enough accuracy rating so that it's higher than your maximum life. So just make sure you follow my tree properly. You allocate these accuracy nodes over here, and you have green sockets on your bow to give you even more accuracy ratings. And when you allocate this precise technique, you can get the full benefits of these keystones. And I have some final optimization tips for you. First, in terms of mercenaries, use the low-level merc as damage because they benefits a lot more from flat damage. And once you get toward the end of the campaigns, try to use your merc as a stat stick. So it's going to be using supporting items like Percotos, Leocast, and Percotos work extremely well on lightning damage because it has a huge range, and it lucky mean it rolled twice. And yeah, so for your flask, if you are using a flask, obviously for this build bow flicker, we're just linking around, so we don't need flask quite as much. But for Bama and Hollow Palm, you want to have your flask properly roll. So you need the orb to increase the effect to 70%. You want 20% qualities. You want increased durations. And if you can get movement speed during effect, it's even better. And for our particular build, you want to have a Hyrobite with double corrupted damage mod. It's going to give you a lot more damage. We are using a Doomfletch with elemental damage, and if you can get a corrupted lightning damage, it's pretty insane because we are again using Doriani prototype. And in this Ascendant, to make it easier for you, use corrupted one. If you don't have it, again, use Enlightened support. And even if you don't have to use aura, it's completely fine. The build is kind of squishy, but if you die, you can just kind of blink right back to where we are. So it just don't feel as bad as other build where you have to walk all the way back. And if your flask run out, it's kind of awkward. If this is going to be your first alt that you're going to level, consider to use Brahma or Holopalm. Get your merc setups properly with a level 20 mercs and a level 50 merc with Doriani prototype. And then you can use this build to have some fun. There should be plenty of things that I can still optimize from this build, but at this point it is on buttons, it is quite fun to play, and it clears campaign pretty well, so there's that. I hope you enjoy these videos, and I hope you will find your favorites alt leveling setup of 3.26. And with this, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.